Camilla was furious when DNA results revealed a child of King Charles that wasn't hers. Inside Buckingham Palace, a place long accustomed to whispers and rumors behind gilded doors, a bombshell has just exploded. And this time it has nothing to do with Meghan Markle, nothing to do with Prince Harry, and nothing to do with approval ratings or the public image of the monarchy. This is something entirely different. A secret once believed to be buried for decades has now violently resurfaced, dragging with it the uncontrollable rage of the most powerful woman in the kingdom today, Queen Camilla. And it all started with what seemed like a simple DNA test, one that has now uncovered a shattering truth about King Charles. Yes, an illegitimate child, a royal heir with no name, no title, but who carries the blood of a king. Not Prince William, not Prince Harry, someone else entirely. A name never before mentioned in royal annals, now suddenly standing at the center of a public storm. The DNA results confirmed what many had whispered about, but no one dared say aloud King Charles had another child not with Princess Diana, and certainly not with Camilla. The truth hit Camilla like a knife to the heart. She was the woman who had fought for half a lifetime to earn the title of Queen Consort. She endured waves of public hatred, criticism, and cold disdain to sit beside Charles on the throne. But beneath her serene gaze and practiced royal smile, there had always been a lingering fear that the king's complicated, woman-filled past would one day come back to haunt them. And now it had, with a blow she never saw coming. From his earliest days as Prince of Wales, Charles was known for his charm, sophistication, and his many romantic flings. Before Diana, there were numerous relationships with aristocrats, actresses, and even women far from royal circles, and these fleeting affairs were once dismissed as harmless dalliances, the youthful indiscretions of a man not yet bound to the crown. But what no one realized was that from one of those entanglements, a life was created, a child born with royal blood, denied a title, hidden away like a blemish on the royal legacy. Now that DNA has confirmed the blood tie, King Charles can no longer remain silent. He must confront the truth. But to Camilla, this isn't just a truth, it's a betrayal. A fresh wound carved into layers of past hurt that never truly healed. She forgave Charles when he admitted he never stopped loving Diana. She remained silent when the media branded her the woman who ruined a fairy tale. She endured it all to wear that crown. But a secret child, a living, breathing reminder of the king's past affairs, that Camilla could not forgive. Sources within the palace report that when Camilla was informed by one of her closest advisors, she was so furious that she shattered a wine glass in her private quarters. She didn't scream, but her gaze was described as sharp enough to freeze the entire room. She demanded Charles publicly deny everything, even if the day was irrefutable. She wanted to protect the image of the royal family. But more than that, she wanted to protect her power and her grandchildren, children not born of Diana's bloodline, but ones she had long hoped would one day stand close to the throne. The problem is that the public has grown weary of cover-ups and sanitized press releases. They want the truth. And this truth can no longer be buried beneath cold official statements or carefully curated family portraits. The identity of this child, still hidden from public view, is bound to dominate headlines in the coming days. Are they a grown man who once attempted to contact the royal family? Or a woman who was cast aside because her existence didn't fit the royal narrative? Whoever they are, their presence alone destroys the image of the perfect royal family that British media has tried so hard to maintain. In this video, we will follow the clues, uncover the hidden past of King Charles, examine Queen Camilla's explosive reaction, and ask the most critical question of all: could this secret child disrupt the royal line of succession? And more importantly, is this the beginning of a new royal crisis? One where every mask will finally be forced to fall. It all began with a single envelope. No royal seal, no crest, no insignia, just a plain white package, quietly slipped through the back gates of Clarence House on a rain-soaked evening. Inside, a handwritten letter, calm and calculated. No threats, no demands, just one devastating declaration that could bring the monarchy to its knees. I believe I am the biological child of King Charles III, DNA evidence enclosed. For decades, the British public has whispered about royal secrets, affairs, betrayals, hidden heirs. Some rumors faded, others grew more dangerous with time. But absolutely nothing could have prepared Buckingham Palace for the storm unleashed by that one letter. This wasn't idle speculation. This wasn't some fame-hungry imposter angling for 15 minutes of tabloid glory. This was science, documented, verified, a full DNA profile from a certified European genetics lab, precise, clinical, irrefutable. The result, a 90.9% match. Not to Prince William, not to Prince Harry, but to King Charles himself. The palace went into full lockdown. Press offices were silenced, internal emails scrubbed, legal teams activated within hours. But it was too late. The news had escaped. And what made this scandal uniquely explosive wasn't just the DNA, it was the timing. With Charles still adjusting to his reign, and Queen Camilla desperately clinging to public legitimacy, the reveal of a secret child conceived before even Diana threatened to unravel it all. And at the heart of this chaos stood Camilla. For decades, she clawed her way from mistress to monarch, fighting public hatred and royal tradition. But this was betrayal beyond betrayal. Not only had Charles loved another, but he fathered a child with her. A child who was now grown, impossibly holding a claim, not just to the throne, but to the story, the legacy, the name. Behind palace walls, chaos reigned, screaming matches, heirlooms shattered, legal threats hurled, and the most deafening silence of all came from King Charles himself. Silent, as if he remembered, as if he knew, as if the rumors were never rumors at all. The monarchy has weathered scandals before, but this is personal. This is blood. And Camilla, furious, humiliated, and cornered, is ready to explode. Royal scandals are nothing new. For generations, the House of Windsor has tiptoed through whispered affairs, clandestine rendezvous, and love letters hidden in palace walls. But few rumors have clung to the crown as stubbornly or as silently as the one about King Charles's other great love, the one before Camilla. The world knows the tragic fairy tale of Charles and Diana, the forbidden romance that led to Camilla's eventual coronation. But few dare whisper the name of the woman who came first. Her name was Lady Sarah Keell, never photographed with Charles, never interviewed, never courted titles. But she was there. In the late 1970s, long before royal obligations forced Charles toward marriage, Sarah was a striking aristocrat. Sharp, composed, discreet. She moved in the same elite circles, attending diplomatic dinners, horse races, and art galas. Friends remember her as graceful, clever, always 3 steps ahead. Charles felt safe in her quiet intelligence and poise. At the time, Camilla had just married Andrew Parker Bowles, and Diana was still a teenager. Charles, 30 and restless, faced pressure to settle down, have children, and choose a proper bride. But what he wanted was Sarah. Insiders say their romance lasted over 2 years, with quiet weekends at Balmoral, late-night calls channeled through trusted aides, and a rumored trip to Italy in 1979 under the pretense of foreign relations. There were even reports of a planned engagement, abruptly canceled after Queen Elizabeth reportedly deemed Sarah too emotionally sharp to be molded into a royal bride. With that, she vanished from the royal radar. No scandal, no public fallout. She returned to private life, married a French ambassador 2 years later, and relocated to Switzerland, but not before reportedly giving birth to a son. A son was born 9 months after her final meeting with Charles, during which, according to a former valet, He looked as though he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. The boy, now in his early 40s, was raised abroad, privately educated, well-groomed, but not ostentatious. Most surprisingly, he was always financially stable. His education was reportedly paid for by an anonymous British benefactor. For his 18th birthday, he received a luxury car with no traceable buyer. During a visit to London, he was seen entering a royal-adjacent legal office through the back door. Still, the rumor remained just that, a rumor, until now. For decades, whispers of Charles's lost heir, born from a discreet romance, were kept under wraps. Palace aides denied it. Journalists avoided it for fear of legal repercussions. In a rare offhand remark to a confidant, the Queen reportedly dismissed the notion as a fantasy people invent to cope with the dullness of royal life. But truth, like blood, tends to rise. As the monarchy faced growing pressure for transparency, more stories surfaced. A retired footman claimed he once delivered roses to a woman Charles couldn't forget. A royal archivist was quietly removed after allegedly discovering personal letters hidden under false drawers at Clarence House. An anonymous call to a European publication suggested Charles's deepest secret bore his face. Nonetheless, the palace remained firm. No acknowledgement, no comment. But behind the scenes, tension was rising. Camilla, whose jealousy is well documented, reportedly banned Charles from discussing Sarah in private. When asked by a close aide if he had ever fathered a child before Diana, Charles reportedly turned pale. Now, with DNA evidence in the spotlight and a grown man claiming a title no one dared speak aloud, the whispers are no longer whispers. They are knocking on the gates of Buckingham Palace, and Camilla will hear them loud and clear. His name is not in history books. You won't find dazzling magazine covers with his infant photographs. Yet, for over 4 decades, one man has quietly existed on the fringes of royal acknowledgement, born not of scandal, but of silence. Meet Sebastian David Kiel, whose life is a paradox, public yet hidden, privileged yet invisible, possibly the unacknowledged son of King Charles III. Sebastian was born in Geneva, Switzerland, in early 1980, 9 months after Lady Sarah Kiel's penultimate visit to the UK. His birth certificate lists no father. His mother, noble by ancestry but notoriously private, declined interviews and moved to a countryside estate outside Lausanne, away from prying eyes. From the start, his life was unusual. A family trust funded his childhood education, which began at an upscale Montessori institute and continued at a private British boarding school. His teachers described him as polished, well-spoken, intensely curious, and eerily mature. One noted he had the poise of someone raised for the public eye, but without the public. Then there was his face, sharp cheekbones, close-set eyes, a profile that bore a striking resemblance to Charles in his early years. It wasn't subtle, it was striking. A teacher once remarked, "If I did not know better, I'd say you're straight out of Sandringham." Sebastian simply grinned. In his early 20s, he moved to London, not to party, model, or seek celebrity, but to quietly enroll at King's College London to study international law. No social media, no flashy cars, yet everything was paid for. Those close to him were surprised by his financial support. According to a former flatmate, he never discussed where the money came from, but it was always there. Tuition, rent, even custom tailoring, as if he had a shadow sponsor. Recently released financial documents reveal the sponsor was a shell trust affiliated with a private royal law office, the same firm that once managed Charles's Duchy of Cornwall estate. Coincidence, perhaps? Then came the sightings. Sebastian was spotted near Clarence House on several occasions, but never via the front entrance. Never announced. Always at night. Former employees said he was rushed in and out the back. No press, no record. A veteran chauffeur recalled a tense exchange where a senior official warned, if she ever finds out he's still in contact with Charles, It'll be World War II. She, of course, was Camilla. Sebastian has never spoken publicly. No interviews, no lawsuits. But those close to him claim he always knew the truth. A childhood friend recalled him opening a faded envelope at 16 and whispering, "Everything I thought I knew about myself is a lie." Still, he stayed silent until now. What changed, according to sources? It was Charles's recent coronation. Watching the man he believed to be his father inherit the throne while pretending he didn't exist broke something within him. Sebastian began secretly seeking legal advice. After exchanging DNA samples and receiving lab results, the reality became evident, a 9.9% match with King Charles III. Yet the palace does not mention his name. His existence remains unacknowledged. But the evidence is out, and the world is watching. No matter how hard you try to hide a secret, it eventually grows up and knocks at your palace door. The British monarchy has always relied on discretion, secrecy, and precise timing. But no amount of palace protocol could prepare them for what arrived via courier. One brisk morning at a private legal office in Mayfair, a sealed genetic report with certified documentation, independent laboratory approval, and a devastating conclusion. King Charles III was the biological father of a 44-year-old man the monarchy has never publicly recognized. Sebastian David Kiel, the claimed love child of Charles and Lady Sarah Kiel, began discreetly seeking answers months ago. Friends say he carried the weight of the unknown for decades, raising suspicions but never finding clarity. Advised to remain quiet, humble, and not ask too many questions, he complied until Charles's coronation. He couldn't take it anymore. A confidant revealed that watching the man he believed to be his father wear the crown while acting as if he didn't exist felt like a deep, almost spiritual betrayal. Sebastian contacted a renowned European genetic testing agency in Switzerland, known for its confidentiality with high-profile clients, royals, millionaires, and politicians. The process was straightforward, but the consequences were explosive. To determine paternity, the agency required DNA samples from both Sebastian and Charles. Here, the story takes a dramatic turn. A former butler with quiet sympathies, now in palace maintenance, provided a hair sample from King Charles, carefully extracted from a recently used travel comb. The chain of custody was secure, legally solid, and confirmed by two third-party witnesses. Sebastian's sample was collected under strict laboratory monitoring. The result, a 997% match. No room for debate, no loophole, no question. Sebastian was not a pretender or deluded. Scientifically, he was King Charles's biological son. When his legal team received the report, they didn't immediately contact the media. Instead, they followed protocols. A secret letter was sent to Clarence House, addressed directly to King Charles, including a copy of the DNA report, a brief statement from Sebastian, and a simple request: "I don't want a title. I don't want wealth. I just want the truth to be acknowledged publicly." According to insiders, the palace launched immediate damage control. Camilla was reportedly pulled from a scheduled appearance. Legal teams were deployed. Phones rang nonstop for 48 hours, not because they doubted the results, but because they confirmed what they feared. One assistant, speaking anonymously, said there was no denial or outrage, just silence, the kind that screams guilt. Within days, hushed talks took place behind locked doors. Camilla, furious, demanded to know how this was possible and why it had been kept secret for so long. Multiple staffers noted Charles appeared haunted, not startled, as if he were horribly and disturbingly haunted. Outside the palace, journalists began to stir. The document was leaked, not by Sebastian, but by someone in legal circles outraged that the monarchy was trying to bury the truth again. The story spread to European outlets before making international headlines. Royal DNA bombshell: Charles fathered secret son. Lab confirms, crown contaminated. Camilla's worst nightmare secret. Heir confirmed. With that, the fairy tale cracked. In the face of cold, clinical science, the palace's centuries-long legacy of secrecy, spin, and suppression was finally tested. There was no denying it now. The king had a son, and Camilla's reign was not without rivals. The moment the DNA results reached Clarence House, the atmosphere shifted. Staff described it as suffocating, as if a storm was crushing the walls. For Queen Camilla, the scandal was more than humiliating. It was personal warfare exploding at the heart of her meticulously crafted reign. When the truth emerged, Camilla snapped. Initially bizarre, the signs were subtle. She canceled an afternoon meeting with Royal Charities. Her security team was reshuffled, and a private supper with Charles was moved to opposite ends of the house. Then came the explosion. According to royal sources, Camilla screamed for nearly 20 minutes after receiving the DNA documents, locking herself in her room and hurling crystal glassware at the walls. A longtime maid left the apartment in tears, and another said they'd never heard such rage from a human being. She was unhinged. One insider revealed it wasn't just the affair, it was its significance. The child was real, the DNA authentic, and soon the entire country would know Charles had fathered another child, but not with her. Camilla, who rose from mistress to queen consort after decades of scandal, thought she had buried her nightmares. She had endured public criticism for being the other woman in Charles and Diana's failed marriage, facing boos, sneers, and articles branding her a homewrecker. Yet she survived, won, and married the king. Now, just as she was crowned, the past resurfaced, not as rumor, but as a flesh and blood. A grown man with royal DNA, media support, and the power to dismantle her legacy with a single interview. Palace staff say Camilla demanded the legal team erase the embarrassment by issuing a statement disputing the DNA claim, discrediting Sebastian, and threatening legal action against any outlet covering the story. But Charles scarcely spoke, his silence infuriating her further. She reportedly accused him of letting Diana's ghost ruin them again, slamming a door so hard the frame broke. Security was ordered to stand outside her suite, not because she was a threat to others, but because she was out of control. Insiders say what stung most was the public's sympathy for Sebastian. He made no demands, sought no titles, and simply wanted acknowledgement. Compared to his calm, noble demeanor, Camilla appeared worse. In a leaked audio message to a confidant, she reportedly said, "They'll paint him as the rightful heir and make me look like a fraud again. After all I've given up, after everything I've sacrificed." Some courtiers whispered it was the worst meltdown since Diana's iconic confrontations with Charles, a toxic mix of sadness, anxiety, and desperation. Behind closed doors, Camilla was no longer the calm queen waving alongside the king. She was a woman in turmoil, fearing replacement by a ghost, a secret, and a son who, by blood, stood within reach of the throne. Camilla was ready to go to war to end it. While Clarence House was in chaos and Camilla's rage echoed behind closed doors, Prince William and Princess Catherine remained calm, not just for the cameras, but for the monarchy's future. Their serene expressions reflected deliberate control, not apathy, in a palace shaken by DNA revelations and betrayal. William and Kate stayed silent, tightening their circle, surveying the battlefield, and moving like chess masters. Privately, William was reportedly shaken but unsurprised. Rumors of a half-brother had circulated in his family for years, whispered by royal officials, tutors, and tabloids. But there had never been scientific proof, until now. With the DNA results confirmed and the palace in turmoil, he understood the stakes. This wasn't just about Charles. It was about public trust, succession optics, and the monarchy's precarious position in a modern world intolerant of dynastic deceit. According to insiders, William told his advisors, "We don't interfere, we don't smear, we wait and prepare." His priority wasn't to undermine Sebastian, but to protect his children, Prince Louis, Princess Charlotte, and Prince George, the monarchy's future. The emergence of a secret half-uncle could shift public opinion, spark intrigue, and threaten the carefully crafted image of royal continuity. Trained for this from birth, William chose quiet power over regal retaliation. Kate, as always, was his anchor. Behind palace walls, she offered tough advice, reminding William to stay above the storm. Their public appearances remained poised, affectionate, and unwavering, attending children's events, supporting charities, and meeting dignitaries, never acknowledging the behind-the-scenes drama. Privately, Kate was strategic. Sources say she tasked internal media specialists with monitoring the narrative across platforms, collecting every headline, tweet, and video throw about Sebastian's emergence, not to silence, but to understand and anticipate. What did they see? The public sympathized, not with Camilla or Charles, but with Sebastian, a calm, articulate man seeking only acknowledgement. As calls for a public statement from Buckingham Palace grew louder, some speculated William might reach out to Sebastian directly. Others believed he was waiting to see if Charles would speak or let the silence consume them all. One thing was clear: William and Kate had learned from history. They knew how the firm mishandled Diana and the risks of silence. They weren't about to repeat those mistakes. Camilla might be crumbling, Charles hiding behind antique doors, but William and Kate were planning for the monarchy's survival. Their strategy was simple: stay calm, be prepared, and act when the time is right. For decades, it was just a rumor, a whisper behind velvet curtains, shared in knowing glances by those who saw too much but said too little. Now it's fact. The DNA test doesn't lie. A man raised in silence, hidden from public sight, carries the blood of a king. He has Charles's eyes, posture, even his voice. Thanks to science, he knows the truth, and the world has proof. Camilla's outrage may dominate headlines. Her rants, slam doors, and fear of replacement. But the real story lies deeper: the rot at the monarchy's heart. A legacy built on denial and lifelong secrecy. Charles at the center of it all, his silence deafening. There's no denying it anymore. Sebastian exists. He is real. He is royal. While he may never wear a crown, his presence alone could unseat those who do. The monarchy has long presented itself as untouchable, a symbol of divine continuity. But this story reveals something more dangerous. They bleed, they lie, they conceal. When the spotlight of the crown burns brightest, the shadows of old secrets begin to stir. The story of King Charles's secret child doesn't just shake the foundations of the British monarchy. It serves as a powerful reminder that no authority, no matter how revered, can forever conceal the truth. A plain white envelope, a DNA result, and a life once denied were enough to tear apart decades of carefully crafted image and illusion. This isn't just a scandal, it's a lesson in responsibility, honesty, and the heavy price we pay when we choose to bury the past. In a world where every action leaves a trace, the truth will always find a way to rise. We, whether royal or commoner, are all faced with the same choice: to hide or to confront, to protect reputation or to uphold dignity. If the truth has the power to save a soul, mend a bond, or even heal a nation, then perhaps it's time the monarchy learns to bow before the one force it cannot silence. The truth always speaks last. 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 Last.